Hello and welcome to our webinar, Getting the Most from American Ancestors from Home. My name is Ginevra Morse. I'm the Director of Education and Online Programs at American Ancestors and New England Historic Genealogical Society. I will be moderating today's event. We are a nonprofit organization supported by our members and donors. We provide resources and expertise in nearly all aspects of family history and are pleased to offer such programming for our members and friends around the world. Now, I also want to note that we are, of course, broadcasting from our homes with various limitations and distractions, so we apologize in advance if there are any interruptions from our end, and we thank you for your patience. Even if we do lose connection for some reason, you will have access to a full recording on our website. So our presenter today is Jean Maguire, Library Director at American Ancestors and New England Historic Genealogical Society. She is responsible for overseeing the library and special collections, including patron services, collection development, access, and preservation, as well as our volunteer program. Jean joined the staff in 1999 after receiving her master's in library and information science from Simmons College. Her areas of research interest include Italian, Polish, and New England topics. So now is, of course, a great time to explore all that American Ancestors has to offer from home. Jean will discuss some of our searchable databases, ways you can access the experts and expertise at NEHGS, how to browse our digital library and archives collections, benefit from several services, and take your family history research to the next level. At any point during the presentation, feel free to type your question into the panel to the right of your screen. We'll address those after the presentation. There is no handout for this session, but we are recording this event, and starting tomorrow, you can easily go back and review any of the content from today's session on our website. So if you missed something on today's first listen, don't worry, you can always go back and review the presentation later. All right, so without further ado, I will turn things over to Jean.
Hello, everyone. And thank you for welcoming us into your homes today. I hope you're settled in with a nice cup of tea, coffee, or cocoa, or iced tea, or iced coffee. We have a lot to cover in today's webinar. While there's so much to see and do at our 8-story building on Newbury Street in Boston, there are many things you can do with American Ancestors without leaving your home. The last time I gave a webinar on this topic was way back in 2014. I thought we had a lot to offer then, and yet the options have grown exponentially since that time. So let's get started. First, anytime you visit American Ancestors, you want to make sure you're logged in if you have either a full or guest membership. Check the top of the page. If it says welcome and your name, then you're logged in. If it doesn't, then you'll want to click on log in the upper right. While logging in is not required for all parts of the website, it will make it possible for you to not only search databases, but to access a number of the resources we'll be going over today. Many of you may be aware of our large collection of searchable databases. We currently have 470 databases containing 1.4 billion names, and new content is added every week. Since we have other webinars devoted to our databases, I won't get too deep into the details of how to search them. I will focus on highlighting some of the types of records available in the databases so you can pursue them further if you're interested. The records in the databases spread across many countries and all of the states. We certainly specialize in New England resources, but if your ancestors came from a different area, you should definitely perform a search to see if we have any information. Genealogical journals and periodicals are an underutilized treasure trove. Many researchers don't realize the extraordinary amount of content they contain, whether it be studies of families or individuals, the history of a particular place, or transcriptions of records such as cemetery records, tax lists, or Bible records. It's important to remember that much of the genealogical research that is carried out is not published in a book, but rather in a journal or periodical. American Ancestors, often in partnership with other genealogical organizations, has been at the forefront of making the full text of journal and periodical issues accessible online. You can see here a few of the titles we have available. The American Genealogist, or TAG for short, was founded in 1922 by Donald Jacobus, who was the first person elected to the National Genealogy Hall of Fame and is considered by many to be the founder of scholarly genealogy in the United States. TAG continues to be published today, and we currently have volumes through 86 available as a searchable database on American Ancestors. Our very own New England Historical and Genealogical Register has been published since 1847 without interruption and is a premier resource for New England and early American research. It's loaded with quality information written by experienced researchers, and it's always one of our most popular databases. I really encourage you to check out these journal and periodical databases. Cemetery records. We have two large cemetery collections on the American Ancestors site. One is called Cemetery Transcriptions from the NEHGS Manuscript Collections, 1650 to 2000. This is an index-only database, meaning there aren't images. And it includes 1,650 cemeteries and burial grounds, and these are not just in New England, but also in the Mid-Atlantic and in Eastern Canada. The North American Cemetery Transcriptions from NEHGS manuscripts, 1642 to 1977, does include images of the pages. And you can see here a listing of the states that are covered in this database. The advantage to using this database as a supplement to some of the cemetery websites you might use, like Find a Grave, is that these are transcriptions that some of them were done 100 years ago. They were done over time back when some stones were still legible that are not legible now. So it's an important supplement to using some of those big cemetery websites used now, where people very helpfully go around and photograph cemeteries and share the information. A very exciting project at American Ancestors is our partnership with the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Boston to digitize its sacramental records. The records cover 81 cities and towns. If you think the Archdiocese is just the city of Boston, that's definitely not the case. It covers all of eastern Massachusetts. As you can see, from 1789 to 1900, there are more than 800 volumes of records, which we thought was quite a lot at first. But then you can see that in just the next 20 years, there are more than 700 volumes. This reflects the tremendous growth in Catholic immigrant populations in the US during that time. The records consist primarily of baptisms and marriages, but also include many First Communion, confirmation, death, and other records. You'll often find baptism records for people who don't have civil birth records, so these are particularly valuable. We began the project in 2016. All the pre-1901 records have been imaged and are available online for viewing. Most of them are also available for searching, while indexing of some parishes continues. Last year, we began the 1901 to 1920 phase of the project. The image collections are available to everyone for free for this entire project. The searchable versions are available with a paid subscription. Images are announced as soon as they are uploaded. Additions to the searchable database are made and announced at least once a month. The Massachusetts Probate Records are a valuable collection that many people may not be aware of. Probate records are an important step in your research once you've exhausted the records that you use earlier in your research, like vital records and census records. Probate records are important for establishing relationships between family members, trying to determine how many children a person had, and was this person their daughter, or was this their sister? This is really key information. So as you get more advanced in your research, you want to start turning to probate records. And the Massachusetts probate records are available on American Ancestors, and it's done according to the county level, as you can see here in this list. Most of these databases were created as a partnership with the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court Archives and with FamilySearch, with digital images supplied by FamilySearch and indexing contributed by American Ancestors and NEHGS. and most of them are available for free, so you don't need a paid subscription. Right now, there are more than 300,000 case files available through these probate record databases. NEHGS has 4 study projects which have generated records that can be accessed in databases on our website. The focus of the Great Migration Study Project, which began in 1988, was to create accounts of immigrants to New England from 1620 to 1640. It's the authoritative source for that time period. It includes thousands of sketches, as well as 25 volumes of articles from the Great Migration newsletter. The Early New England Family Study Project provides accurate and concise summaries of 17th century New England families. Using Clarence Allman Torrey's Bibliographic Index of Early New England Marriages and its recent successors as a guide, the project focuses on individuals who immigrated from 1641 through 1700. The project is led by experienced genealogist Alicia Crane Williams. The Western Massachusetts Families to 1790 database contains genealogical sketches of families enumerated in the 1790 census for Berkshire and Hampshire counties, in what now also includes Franklin and Hampton counties. Each sketch begins with the head of household, their genealogical information, followed by their spouse and any further biographical information. Following this is the information about their children and their spouses. Many families migrated into Western Massachusetts only to migrate further west, often through New York and elsewhere. Some of these sketches were submitted by NEHGS members and staff, and many are created by the noted genealogist Helen Shotfith-Ullman. The Early Vermont Settlers to 1784 project is modeled on the Western Massachusetts Family Project. It has a similar purpose, but covers those who traveled north of the Massachusetts border on their migration out of southern New England. And there's much more. The databases listed here are just a few of them. The New England Vital Records are a very heavily used resource on the website, and some of you may already have used them. We have Vital Records for all 6 New England states. Some of you may be familiar with the so-called Silver Books. The General Society of Mayflower Descendants, or GSMD for short, has published this very well-known series of books, Mayflower Families Through 5 Generations, which documents the descendants of the Pilgrims. This series of silver books provides separate volumes for each of these founding families. Through a partnership with GSMD, American Ancestors has delivered this database with a full index of the 5th generation descendants and their children, coupled with the page images for those people. This database includes birth, baptism, marriage, death, and deed records for these individuals, and where available, the names of parents and spouses. The GU-272 Descendants database goes along with our GU-272 Memory Project, and I'll be going over that website later in this presentation. Another large collection is our Massachusetts Grand Lodge of Masons membership cards. There are over 100,000 of these cards, and they contain really interesting information about the members. And lastly, what I'll mention here today is the US Census. We have image-only collections for the years you see listed on this slide, and then we have index-only collections. Actually, the image collections are image and index. Index databases are index-only. So this is another way to supplement your research when you're searching across all the databases on American Ancestors. It can be helpful that you're also including the census along with that. It may show you some information that you weren't expecting to find. So how can you search the databases? How can you find them? And you'll want to look at the list of databases that we have to see all the ones that I didn't even talk about here today. Well, there are several ways to approach the databases, and you can access 3 of those ways right here in the search drop-down menu. You can search all the databases at once, which can be a good option if you don't expect to find a lot for the person or family you're researching, and you want to cast a wide net. So that option is right here. Search all databases. The second option is to select a category, such as vital records or court, land, and probate records, like those Massachusetts probate records I was mentioning before. And you can search all the databases that fall within that particular category. The third option is the one I use most frequently, which is browsing the A to Z list of databases to select one. You do that by clicking here. This brings you to this page with the A to Z list. You can search it for database names by using this search box here and entering keywords, for example, Catholic, if you are looking for our Catholic records database. You can limit your search just to freely available databases that don't require paid membership. You can filter to certain locations. And below the locations category, which you can't see on this slide, are date and category filters. When you find the database you want to use, you simply click on its title. When you do that, it will bring you to a search page that has the advantage of being specific to the database you are searching. So it will only offer you the options that apply to that particular database. When you search just one database at a time, you're less apt to get an overwhelming number of results to go through as well. So that's another advantage. The example here is our Massachusetts Vital Records 1841 to 1910 database, which is a very valuable resource. I have entered some information in the fields here for first name, last name, a year range, and a place, but you really don't need to enter that much information. What you want to do is start broad. Maybe you are just using a last name and you're keeping a broad year range and not even a place. And then as you go along, you can refine your search if you find you get too many results. But we always advise to start broad and then narrow down. If you would like to learn more about searching the databases, we'll have a free webinar on how to do that on May 14th. You can also click on the help links here to learn more about searching. In addition to the databases we create at American Ancestors and NEHGS, we also subscribe to databases created by other organizations, some of whom allow us to provide at-home access to our members. If you have a full membership, you will be able to access them. Again, remember to make sure that you are logged into American Ancestors. Then select the Special Interest Databases option from the Search drop-down menu. This will take you to a page with links to the various databases, including 19th century US newspapers, Genealogie Québec, Irish Newspaper Archive, Marquis Who's Who, and the Oxford Dictionary of Family Names in Britain and Ireland. Another rich resource you have access to from home is our library catalog. Not only does it have records for the hundreds of thousands of books and other published material in our library, it also has records for our vast collection of unique manuscripts. Plus, it serves as a gateway, leading you to the online versions of many of the books and manuscripts we hold. So although we love when people visit us in Boston, you don't necessarily have to in order to access all of our holdings. The library catalog can be accessed from that same search drop-down menu I showed you before, or you can go directly to the URL library.nehgs.org. There is a catalog login link in the upper right. The catalog requires a separate and different login from American Ancestors, but you do not have to log in to use the catalog, only if you want to use special features like saving searches or saving records to a permanent list. You have several search options available to you through these tabs. If you are searching for a particular surname or geographic place, we usually recommend doing a subject search because it will target your search to, for example, only those items about the Morse family and not items authored by someone named Morse. Or it will help you target your search to the correct state when you have a county or town name that exists in multiple states. A keyword search will look for key terms in all parts of the catalog record: the title, the author, the publisher, the description, and the subjects. It's important to note that it does not search the full text of the book or manuscript itself. It just searches the catalog record about the book or manuscript. It's also important to note that most often you won't want to search for an individual person's first and last name the way you would with our databases, where names are indexed that way. It's better to search by surname here. A handy feature to note here is this checkbox. You can use this to limit your keyword search so it only shows you those resources that are available online. Let's look at some records for resources you can access from home. Here is what a typical catalog record looks like. If you were to visit the library, you would have the location and call number here, so you could find the item on the shelf. If you would like to start compiling a list of catalog records to email or print for yourself, you can click this Add to Email Print Queue button. You can keep on adding items to it throughout your search session, but remember to go to the queue and email or print the records before you close your browser window, at which point the search session ends and your queue is cleared. If you are a member and you would like to save the records to a more permanent list, you can use the Save to My List feature here. We have added thousands of links to the library catalog for books that are available online. We now have about 15,000 of these links. And these online versions may be on our own website or on the website of another organization, like Internet Archive or Family Search, or a host of others, including, as you see in this example, the North Carolina Digital Collections. You simply click on this online version link and you will be taken directly to the item on the relevant website. It will open in another browser window, so you won't lose your catalog search session. Some of the links we have added are for online books that you can borrow from Open Library, which is an Internet Archive website. There are books that are available for one user at a time for a specified period. When you're done, you can return the book, or it will automatically return itself at the appointed time. So you just click the link here, borrow digital version of this book from Open Library. And the link below that is information in case you'd like to learn how this all works. If we have digitized an item from our library collections and made it available through a searchable database, you can also find that link in the catalog record. This example is for one of the many cemetery transcriptions in our manuscript collection. If you click here to search online database, it will take you to the relevant cemeteries database on American ancestors. Lastly, if we have digitized an item from our collections and made the images available in our digital library and archives collections, you will see that link here in the catalog record. This example is one of our Civil War manuscripts, an account book for the 1st Kansan Colored Volunteer Regiment. And this leads us into our next topic, which is the digital library and archives collections. Our digital library and archives is where you can find digital images of books, manuscripts, typescripts, and photographs from our collections. There are a few different ways you can access these digital collections, so let's take a look. You might find an item in our digital library and archives collections when you're doing a Google search, and that will link you directly to the item. You might find them while searching our library catalog, as I just showed you in the previous part of this webinar, because everything that's in the digital collections has a link from its library catalog record. You might go directly to the digital collection site, or you might access it through the main American Ancestors site. Again, remember to make sure that you're logged into American Ancestors. You can find the digital collections by dropping down the search menu, and at the bottom of that menu, you select Digital, Book, and Manuscript Collections. That takes you right to the home page of the digital collections. By the way, we are currently redesigning the look of this site, so you'll soon see some nice changes when you visit it, and it will look a bit different than it does here. This site has items from the book collections of our library, as well as manuscripts, typed records, newspapers, and photographs from our general R. Stanton Avery special collections and our Jewish Heritage Center collections. It's important to note that these collections are not searchable in the same way you search our databases, which are indexed by individual names. It's a bit similar to the library catalog in that you're primarily searching the information about the item and not what's in the item, or you're browsing through the items as opposed to searching them. I recommend getting started by clicking on one of these two images to see the types of collections available on the site. This is a nice, organized way to see what's available. It's like a restaurant menu. Here you see just a few of the options. We have church records, city directories, manuscripts from the French and Indian Wars, Revolutionary War and Civil War, genealogies, family registers and Bible records, our Jewish Heritage Center collections, local histories and records, account books, photographs, and more. You can click on one of these images to get more information about the category and browse through the items found within it. I'm going to show you examples of some of the types of material you will find here. We, of course, keep usage statistics for our digital collections, and one of the many things we track is the most heavily used items. And today I'm going to show you a few of the most consistently popular items. This is Genealogy of the Families of Braintree, Massachusetts. It's a book which was compiled by Waldo Chamberlain Sprague, who was born in Quincy, Massachusetts in 1903. His pursuit of genealogy and history began in 1934. He was the Historian General for the General Society of Mayflower Descendants, President of the Quincy Historical Society, and a life member of NEHGS. Involvement with his hometown historical society sparked his interest in families from the original town of Braintree. In 1947, he began work on a major project that would last the rest of his days. He started to abstract vital records and pre-1792 Suffolk County probate and deeds for Braintree families. In all, he created over 6,000 cards, including almost all the pre-1850 population of Old Braintree and the separated towns of Quincy, Randolph, and Holbrook. Some families from nearby Milton and Stoughton were also included. In his will, Sprague left this massive collection to the NEHGS archives. Frank Dyer of Enfield, Connecticut, painstakingly transcribed the entire manuscript from the original handwritten index cards for a CD, and it's his transcriptions that were used by another NEHGS member, Robert Dunkel, to create this book. So it's an item that's very particular to NEHGS, and many users come to our digital collections site to use it. One example from our French and Indian War manuscript collections is this handwritten roll of Massachusetts militia soldiers serving at Fort William Henry, New York on August 9, 1756. The list includes columns for men's names, station, age, where they were born, last residence, occupation, whether they were volunteers impressed or hired, what town they were from, what company, and whether they had deserted or were dead. The view displayed here shows you the different options available to you for using this item. You can zoom in and out. You can go to the next page here, or you can use the page flip view. You can download the image, or you can print it. And these options are available no matter what you're using in the digital collections. This scrapbook provides a history of Lane's School on Malaga Island, Maine. It includes correspondence, clippings, and photographs detailing the efforts of George and Lucy Lane of Malden, Massachusetts, to establish a school for the island's children. Unfortunately, the island community came to a tragic end. The island's 40 residents, white, black, and mixed race, were ordered to leave the island and to take their homes with them, else they would be burned. A fifth of the population was incarcerated on questionable grounds at the Maine School for the Feeble-Minded in New Gloucester, where most spent the rest of their lives. The island schoolhouse was dismantled and relocated to Louds Island in Muscongas Bay. State officials dug up the 17 bodies in the island cemetery, distributed them into 5 caskets, and buried them at the School of the Feeble-Minded, now Pineland Farms, where they remain today. This scrapbook has been featured in newspaper and television stories and remains one of our most frequently viewed items in the digital library and archives. In our archives, we have a large collection of family registers and Bible records, and I'm happy to say we continue to receive frequent donations of these items. This is the Hanrahan family record, which we recently conserved and digitized. There are about 400 family registers and Bible records in the digital collections right now. The Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, or HIAS for short, has worked to help immigrants find their way in this country and has also served as a center for social services and religious needs. The Boston office began in 1904, and it's the records of that office which we have in our Jewish Heritage Center archives. Thanks to a grant from the Harris-Porvu family, we are making the records accessible here on the Digital Library and Archives site. During World War II, immigration was at the forefront of the HIAS mission as Jews attempted to leave Europe for the United States or Palestine. HIAS arranged for sponsors and worked continuously to help the many Jews who wrote to them for help. Throughout the 1960s and 70s, the Boston HIAS office assisted non-Jewish immigrants from Europe, China, and the Middle East. The Boston HIAS office dissolved in the late 70s, but the national office in New York remains an active force today. This collection includes valuable information about the lives of immigrants in the 20th century. It contains the case files and arrival cards of the many thousands of immigrants who received assistance from the HIAS Boston office between 1886 and 1977. Some records also include ship manifests, scrapbooks, passenger lists, photographs, and correspondence between immigrants, sponsors, officials, and HIAS Boston staff. This Polish passport comes from one of the recently added case files. Are you wondering how to begin researching in a particular area? Have you been researching for a long time and are running into obstacles? Do you simply want to learn more about topics that interest you? Let's take a look at ways you can do all of these things. If you are a full member of American Ancestors and NEHGS, you have access to our free Ask a Genealogist service. You submit your question through the form found at the link here, and also under the Services menu on our website. The genealogists on our library staff receive your questions and email you a response. The service is designed for straightforward questions the genealogist can answer relatively quickly, so it's not the place to present the complicated brick wall you've been working on for 20 years. We do have a service for that, which I'll mention in a minute. The genealogist can recommend sources you can try and how to locate those sources, explain the types of records you can expect to find for a particular geographic area and time period, help decipher a term in a record, or give you some research methodology tips. The Ask a Genealogist responses, some of those you can find also in our magazine, American Ancestors. Our online library chat service is free for anyone, whether you're a member or not. Our genealogists love to hear from you. They're currently available for chat Tuesday through Saturday afternoons from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Again, questions asked here should be ones that don't take too long to answer, so our genealogists can assist other people during the hour. We can explain a website or other resource, define an unfamiliar term or phrase, or suggest places where you can find records. Visit americanancestors.org/chat at the appointed time, type your question into the box provided, and you will have a live conversation with a genealogist. If you can't make it to a chat session, remember that you can also phone the library with these sorts of questions, and you can do that Tuesday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time at the toll-free number provided here. If you have questions about your member status and benefits, or joining American Ancestors and NEHGS, or if you would like some help using the American Ancestors website, our friendly member services team is available to help you online, as well as by phone. When you visit the homepage of the website, or the Join page, you will see in the lower right a small chat window like the one pictured here. You can click on it and then start typing your question. This service is currently available Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. If you visit the website at a time when chat is not available, there will still be a form available in the lower right corner of the homepage where you can submit a question, which the member services team will respond to via email as soon as they're back on duty. If there is an area of your research which you have questions about and would like to have a professional look at and discuss with you, consider meeting with one of our genealogists in a scheduled, in-depth consultation online or over the phone. This is the place for those difficult questions that you have found have become obstacles in your research, or it's a good place for getting started if you're entering a new area of research. We have given thousands of these consultations over the years, and we started the online video conference option a few years ago. We are still giving online and phone consultations while our genealogists work from home. We can schedule the session for a date and time that is convenient for you. Sessions can be anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours, depending on your preference. We ask you to submit your research information and questions when you book the consultation, so we can match you with the appropriate genealogist for that subject area, and they can review the material and prepare to advise you. Some additional advantages to the online option, besides the remote access, are that the genealogist can share their screen with you in order to demonstrate what they're talking about and how to use databases. And you'll receive a recording of the session afterwards, so you can go back and watch it again or share it with family and friends. If you are interested in learning more or in requesting a session, please visit the link provided here or just go to the Services drop-down menu on our website and choose the Consult an Expert option. Have you found something in our library catalog which isn't available online and you can't come to visit the library to use it? Or maybe you have found a citation somewhere that refers to an article or a book we have in our library and you'd like to see it. We can provide you with copies of pages from books, from periodicals, and for members, from items in our manuscript collections. You can either provide us with the specific page numbers you want, if you know them, or if you don't know them and the book has an index, we can look up specific information that you provide when you place the request, such as the name of the individual you are researching. You can submit your requests at the link given here, or by going to the Services drop-down menu and selecting the Photocopies option. At the time of this webinar in April 2020, we do not have access to our collections in order to make copies, but we hope to resume this access soon. You can continue to submit your request to us through the website. While we have a lovely bookstore on site at our building in Boston, we have an even bigger one on our website. In addition to the titles American Ancestors and NEHGS publishes on its own each year, we sell titles by other publishers as well. Here you see just a few of the more than 20 categories we offer. Looking for the latest books by historian Sue Allen or Robert Charles Anderson? You will find them here. Want to read Bill Griffith's riveting DNA memoir, Stranger in My Genes, in either print or ebook format, or his follow-up book, By Faith Alone? You can get them here. Want to add one of our 4-page laminated portable genealogist guides to your reference library? You will find over 24 of them here. When you are logged into American Ancestors and then go to the bookstore, the site will recognize that you are a member and automatically apply your member discount to your purchase. Be sure to check out our weekly genealogist e-newsletter for announcements about new bookstore items and special offers. By attending today's webinar, you're already participating in one of our at-home education offerings. We offer lots more, so let's take a look and see what might be interesting and helpful to you. Not only can you attend free live webinars, you can watch free recordings of past webinars. You'll find all of them, nearly 100 webinars, listed on our page, americanancestors.org/watch. Here you can see a recent one given by my wonderful colleague, Molly Rogers, about the recent expansion of our Catholic Records project. We also have a couple of recent how-to videos we've added, which you can access by using the how-to videos link here. Our conservator, Todd Pattison, created one on how to make a journal and one on how to make a pop-up card, which are great activities when you're staying at home. Both of them make use of supplies that you probably already have around your home. Stay tuned for more. Here is just a small sampling of recent webinar topics to give you a sense of the kinds of topics we cover. All of them are about 1 hour in length. Some are geographically oriented on places like Boston or Poland. Some are on the latest tools like DNA and new databases. Some are focused on methodology, like evaluating published genealogies or using occupations to trace ancestors. All of them should give you good ideas for projects to work on from home. And the webinars on preserving your family treasures and hosting an online family reunion might be especially useful right now. On the online classes and programs page of our website, you can see all our upcoming online events, whether they be webinars or multi-part online conferences or courses, or virtual author events, which I'll be talking more about in just a few minutes. On April 29th, Elsa Churchill of the Society of Genealogists in the UK will be giving an online course on 18th and 19th century English research. And on April 30th, the curator of our fine art collection, Kurt DiCamillo, will be giving a free webinar on the treasures of NEHGS. Another service to be aware of is that we offer private webinars. So if you have a genealogy, history, or library group who might like to schedule a live presentation by one of our experts on a topic you're interested in, follow this Schedule a Private Webinar link to learn more. Members of our staff have created dozens of free guides for you to use as you research various subjects. They may provide guidance on a general topic, like getting started or organized in your research, or choosing genealogical software, or they may focus on a specific research area, like French-Canadian genealogy, or naturalization records, or New York research. And they will point you to resources available both at American Ancestors and NEHGS, and at other repositories and websites. Here are snippets of a couple of the guides to show you what they look like and how they can vary. You will see that there are links at the top of each guide, which show you what the contents are and allow you to jump down to a particular section. These guides are a great way to familiarize yourself with a subject area before you dive in. We recently created a new Genealogy for the Next Generation guide, which provides all kinds of family history activities for kids. There is information to help them interview their relatives. They can play games like a scavenger hunt or a word search. They can make crafts like a family keepsake or a journal, or they can begin learning family history terms and creating a family chart or tree. We have a youth genealogy curriculum coordinator who worked with staff throughout our organization to come up with these activities. Another new offering is a virtual version of our American Inspiration Author Series. In the past, we have offered these in person at our research center in Boston, but now we have several coming up that anyone can enjoy from the comfort of their home. I encourage you to do what I'll be doing right after this webinar, which is stretching and getting a refill of my beverage, and then tuning in to hear author Tara Shea Nesbitt speak on her novel about a stranger's arrival in the fledgling colony of Plymouth, Massachusetts, and a crime that shakes the divided community. Several media outlets have declared it one of the most anticipated books of 2020. Tonight's event is a partnership with our friends at the Boston Public Library. And we have several other authors coming up, including Phuc Tran discussing his memoir, Saigon, about his family's immigration from Vietnam in 1975 to a small town in Pennsylvania. On May 14th, I will be in conversation with author Stephen Puleo about Voyage of Mercy, his historical account of America's first ever humanitarian mission via the USS Jamestown to Ireland in 1847 during the famine. And watch out for the date for journalist Libby Copeland as we discuss her book, The Lost Family, How DNA Testing is Upending Who We Are. It's described as a modern genetic detective story and a deeply reported look at the rise of home genetic testing. I know most of us who are interested in genealogy love a good detective story and also think quite a lot about the implications of DNA testing. So this topic will be right up our alley. You can register for any of these events from that online classes page I was just showing you. I'm sure more author events will be on the way, so check our website and our weekly genealogist e-news for announcements. I hope you're not too overwhelmed by everything we've gone over from our main American Ancestors website, because yes, you've read that slide correctly, we have more websites. Let's take a brief tour of them. If you're interested in learning more about our Catholic Records project, visit catholicrecords.americanancestors.org, where you can learn more about the history of Catholics in New England, interact with a timeline and map that show you which parishes were established when, and look at some examples of records, or get started in browsing or searching them. The GU-272 Memory Project is a partnership between American Ancestors and several other groups, including the Georgetown Memory Project, the GU-272 Descendants Association, and others. In 1838, Maryland's Jesuit priests sold hundreds of enslaved men, women, and children to Southern plantations to raise money for the construction of Georgetown University. Though these enslaved persons faced incredible hardship, most didn't perish. They married and raised children. Today, more than 8,000 of their descendants have been located through genealogical research, and you can use this site to search for an ancestor, see trees for the various families, and to hear the stories of the descendants. I highly recommend listening to these oral history interviews. They're incredibly compelling. Our Weiner Family Jewish Heritage Center is a destination for exploring and preserving the histories of Jewish families and institutions in New England and beyond. We have 2 million records in these archives and more than 600,000 searchable Jewish Heritage Center documents in our digital collections. And you can use this site as a gateway to those archives and digital collections. We also offer educational programs through our Jewish Heritage Center, and right now we are collecting observations and reflections about this time of COVID-19 from New England Jewish individuals, organizations, and communities, creating a collection for our archives that will benefit historians of the future. If you're interested in submitting your observations or learning more about the project, go to the Collections menu and select the For the Future project. Since it's the 400th anniversary of the arrival of the Mayflower in North America, we mustn't forget our website, mayflower.americanancestors.org. Here you can learn about the history of the Mayflower and its passengers and crew, and the native nations of New England. You can download a free guide to researching Mayflower ancestry, and you can search databases to explore your own possible connection to the Mayflower. You can also interact with a map showing thousands of living Mayflower descendants and where they hail from, and even add your name to it if the Mayflower is part of your ancestry. Maybe you'd like a break from your own research and would like to give back to the genealogy community and be a part of our merry band of volunteers. This too is something you can do from home, and I'll explain that now. We are very fortunate to have well over 100 volunteers at American Ancestors and NEHGS, and many of them work from home, helping us create searchable databases. This involves looking at images of records and transcribing parts of those records into a spreadsheet. Our website team works closely with the volunteers to train and guide them. At-home volunteers receive a few images at a time and a spreadsheet and can work at their own pace. 2 current opportunities that are available to new volunteers are our Catholic Cemetery Association project, which is transcribing records from Catholic cemeteries in Massachusetts, and the Provident Institution for Savings project, which is a collaboration with our friends at the Boston Athenaeum to make a searchable database of the records of this Boston bank, which was founded in 1817 and was the first chartered savings bank in the United States. It particularly encouraged immigrants and the poor to have savings accounts, and it is a fabulous resource for researching immigrants. It gives such details as their occupation, their place of origin, and much more. They're especially valuable in that they provide the county or town land of Irish immigrants. And if you have ever done Irish research, you know how precious that information is. So if you'd like to contribute your time to these projects, please contact Rachel Adams, our Database Services Volunteer Coordinator, at the email address provided here, or simply at webmaster@nehgs.org. This is a truly rewarding activity, and we're very grateful to those who participate in it. So maybe you're wondering, how can I stay informed about all the new things that are added to the website and the new events that are going on? Well, we have several ways in which you can do that. The best way to stay up to date with everything that's happening at American Ancestors, whether it's in person or online, is to read our weekly e-newsletter, which arrives by email. You've probably heard me mention this a few times throughout the presentation. It's called the Weekly Genealogist. You don't have to be a member to receive it. It will fill you in on the latest database news, additions to our digital library and archives, and upcoming online education opportunities, and much more. You can subscribe by going to the News drop-down menu on our website, selecting the Weekly Genealogist, and clicking the Subscribe link. You can also read past issues from this page. Another way to sign up for the Weekly Genealogist e-newsletter is by going to the bottom of any of the pages on AmericanAncestors.org and clicking the button that says Sign Up for our e-newsletter. While you're there, at the bottom of the website pages, you can also follow the links to our Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram accounts. On all three of these accounts, we share items from our collections, resources on our website, and news about upcoming educational programs and other events. We also love to hear comments from you about your research and your family history. We recently had a live Q&A chat event on Twitter, and we're planning to do more live social media events. If you'd like to know about new databases as soon as they're added, then subscribe to our database news. This is also found under the News menu of the website. And every time we add a database, as soon as it's done, you will get a notification in your email with information about that database that's just been added. It gives you some context and background about the database and a link to it. It's a really great way to get the most up-to-minute information about the databases. Our vitabrevis blog post has been going for several years now, and it presents many different perspectives and points of view on genealogy and on history. The posts on this site are written by our staff, by our volunteers, by our members, and by other experts. So if you would like to find out as soon as these are added, you can either follow us on Facebook, where you'll see new blog posts, or you can subscribe to get an email notification every time there's a new blog post. And there are new blog posts several times a week. Perhaps you receive our publications, whether it's our journal, the New England Historical and Genealogical Register, or American Ancestors magazine. You may receive these in print in your mailbox, or you may get digital versions. Well, if you ever just wanted to go online and read them and you're subscribed, then you can go to the website, go under the News menu, and select the title that you're interested in. You can read a current issue, like you see here for volume 174 of the Register. You can read it online, or you can download it as a PDF, or you can view the archive of issues. And the same is true for American Ancestors, where you can read the current issue, you can download a PDF, and you can look at previous issues. So to review, we went over quite a bit today. You can search our databases, and again, we have almost 500 of these with billions of names. So you will want to look for individual names here. This is the place to do that. And these include vital records, these include cemetery records, these include probate records like wills and guardianships, all kinds of records. So that's a vast resource. You can use our library catalog and digital library and archives for books and manuscripts about families, places, and other topics. You can take advantage of the many services we offer to get help with your research when you find that you're just starting to learn about something or you've run into an obstacle. You can attend online educational programs and author events and read those subject guides we were looking at. You can visit our other websites like the Catholic Records, GU 272, Jewish Heritage Center, and Mayflower websites. You can volunteer to help us create more databases. And you can stay informed through our blogs, our e-news, our social media accounts, and online journal and magazine. Thank you for joining us today to learn about all of these online options.
Well, thank you for your fantastic presentation, Jean. So before we get to your questions, I did want to let everyone know about a special offer that we are running on membership through the end of April. So when you join as a new member, you can save $20. You just enter the promotion code AprilResearch20 at the time of online checkout. And I'll also include this offer in my follow-up email to you later today. All right, so let's get to your questions. Go ahead and type your query into the question panel, and we'll try to answer as many as we can in the time provided. So Pat has a question about the author series that you mentioned through our American Inspiration author series. And she asks, do you have to be a member to attend those live sessions or to review the recordings, or can you attend as a guest?
That's a great question. No, you do not have to be a member to attend those virtual author events. You simply go and sign up right through our online classes page and our American Inspiration page, and it's free. And also, if you're not able to attend live, then WGBH Forum is recording, I believe, this evening's program so that you can go and watch that later on the WGBH Forum website or through a link from our website.
Great, thank you. And Deborah asks, so do volunteer transcribers, do they receive any kind of benefits, maybe discounts on membership? Do you have to be a member in order to be a volunteer? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. No, you do not have to be a member to volunteer, and some of our volunteers are not. Every year we have an annual celebration where we celebrate the volunteers and their contributions. And at that time, we present them with different ways of thanking them, including things like bookstore discounts and gifts. And otherwise, I think the chief reward is getting to interact with the staff at NEHGS and other volunteers and knowing that you are contributing to the research success of other genealogists.
All right, so we have several other questions about, do you have to be a member to do this? So Deborah asks, do you have to be a current member to access the chat service?
No, you do not. The chat service is available to anyone, whether they're a member or not.
All right, and we have a question, do you have to be a member to access kind of the fun family activity section for kids?
No, you do not. You just go to that read page I was talking about, americanancestors.org/read, which takes you to the subject guides page. And one of those subject guides is genealogy for the next generation.
All right, and we also have a question. So Deborah asks, is there a short online class if you want to volunteer online? So we don't have a class, but we actually did a webinar like this a few months ago with Rachel Adams and Molly Rogers, two of our volunteer coordinators who assist our volunteers who work remotely. And that is recorded and available on our website. So if you wanted to learn more about volunteering opportunities and how that works, you can certainly find that on our Library of Archived Webinars. All right, so let's see if there are some other questions. We have a few questions about, do we have a certain database or a certain topic covered within our databases? Can you kind of review what is the best way to learn about what databases we have and to maybe search by a certain topic or region?
Sure. So the best way to see what we have, if you just want to get oriented and see the kinds of databases we have, is to go to that A to Z list of databases I was showing. because you can just take your time, look through the list, you can search for keywords, you can narrow it by location or by category. Like, let's say you want to know what we have for vital records or what we have for court land and probate records. So that's really the best way. And then when you click on a title, you'll get to the page that not only has the specific search fields for that database, but underneath it is a description of the database. So it tells you exactly what it contains and what you can expect to find.
All right. Well, thank you again, Jean. Thank you, everyone, for your fantastic questions. I know we didn't get to all of them today, but if you do have more specific questions about your family history research, certainly do take advantage of the chat service that Jean mentioned, or you may consider scheduling a one-on-one consultation with one of our genealogists or hiring our research services team. And you can learn more about those services by contacting the email addresses on your screen, and I'll also include them in my follow-up email to you later today. So thank you again for joining us. As you leave the event, you'll have the opportunity to fill out a survey and give us your feedback. As we continue to expand our webinars and online offerings, any and all feedback is extremely helpful and appreciated. And if you'd like to access more how-to resources or learn about upcoming online educational programs, please visit our online learning center, americanancestors.org/education. So please stay safe, stay healthy, and I hope to see you at our online programs in the future. Goodbye for now.